Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cardboard Herald, my chance to talk with creative gamers and game creators. My guest today, you know from hit games such as Undaunted and Warchest to Resist, and of course, the now hot Kickstarter project with Bitewing Games of Moytura and Azure. Welcome to the show, Trevor Benjamin.
Hey, Jack. Great to be here.
Yeah, I gotta lead you on like you're coming on to a late night show or something. Do you feel the applause of the people in the
I do,
audience?
I do. It's just, it's an honor to be here. Thank you. Yes, yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
Man, you only got 4 days left in this project as of recording, it's such a fascinating set of games. I've been following Bitewing since they like blasted onto the scene, and I don't know what
Me
dark
too.
magic they were working with to immediately capture the attention of Reiner Knizia, and then
Yeah.
suddenly all these other noted designers such as yourself. But like, how did you get mixed in with these guys?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a good question. So, yeah, I mean, I just agree that Bite are fantastic, and we were definitely watching them before we got in contact with them. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to work with them. So, I think I'm trying to think now. The first, I think they reached out to David Thompson first.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a co-designer of mine, and reached out and said, look, we're wanting to continue this line that we started with Reiner Knizia. Do you want to carry, continue? Well, of course, yes, obviously. um, and so yeah, that was that. So that's what started it. And then so David and I started working on Moytura. But then Brett Gilbert, who's my other primary game designer, game design partner, he, we had been working on two-player things over the years, and I thought, oh, here's another opportunity. So we cooked something up and pitched it to Nick, and he was happy with it, and that ended up being Azure. So now I'm in this weird situation where I'm kickstarting two games at the same time with my two main partners, and I feel like this, in the middle of this sandwich is kind of cool.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's good.
it's a good place to be.
Yep.
With this being not a sequel of sorts, but a continuation of a line, and also a continuation of a line that was established just 2 games ago, one
Yeah.
entry ago, one duology ago, by one of the most venerated game designers of all time. Did you guys actually sit down and play Iliad and Ichor to kind of think about like what does a continuation of this line look like, or were you given free reign? Like, how did you approach this project?
No, that's a good question. So we were given free reign. So I mean the important thing was that they were, two player, and
Yeah.
that they were based around a mythology, and that they shouldn't be like too expansive. We might have pushed it a bit too hard with Moytura, but like, relatively sort of abstract, like that's definitely the sort of thing that they're going for. But no, we were given free reign. And I mean, I'm a massive Reiner fan. Like, I absolutely love his stuff. So any opportunity like I'll take it. But yeah, so no, we were given pretty much free reign. And the story of Moytura was that David and I had been playing around with some of the the mechanics that ended up going
Hmm.
into it, but we didn't really have a place or a home for it. And at the time, we had there was a good chance that Tool was going to do the art for the game and the graphic design for the game, and we knew that he had been interested in doing a game in Irish mythology, like he's
Hmm.
talked about this before. It's like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. So then we nerded out on Irish mythology for a while, and sort of went down that path. And even it ended up that Ian couldn't be involved in the project. He had other things going on, but we were already full into it at that stage, and I mean that's how it came about. Um and yeah, I mean it's been great. Like it's a really fun project, and yeah, we absolutely love working with Bitewing.
You know,
um
with Moytura, well, first off, my son, who has grown up in the echoes of this small channel that I run, the Cardboard Herald, he's
yeah.
grown up with dad receiving games. He was my first pilot for covering Haba games, and then My Little Scythe and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
if you asked him today what's his favorite board game of all time, he would say Warchest. He's 10 years old. He's
Ooh.
in fifth grade. He is like so stoked about Warchest. And so I was
Oh,
like, hey, bud, he's actually, he's at that age where he doesn't want to play board games with dad as much as,
yeah.
because he wants to play Fortnite and he's a big soccer guy and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
he's down for some war chest.
Yeah.
He's playing through our Regicide Legacy campaign. But
Yeah.
when I got the prototype for Moytura for covering, I was like, hey, this is by the guys who made Warchest. And he was like, all in. Like he didn't even want to do anything else that day. He wanted to dive in, and we had a great time. And he's in some of the B-roll on our video that we published on it. But what was very interesting is how much we have been conditioned to expect something out of this being the game by the guys who brought you Undaunted and Warchest and General Orders.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, well, we don't fight each other. what we're establishing obstacles with one another. It's almost to me like an inversion of what you expect out of a heavy conflict game. Like, was there any element of the game where you guys were intentionally trying to be like playful with what the concept of a units on a map combative game was going to be?
Yeah. I mean, so that was there from pretty much the beginning. So at the point when we started with the Irish mythology and like at the point at that from that point on, we instantly knew it's like, look, yes, we're competing, but
Mm-hmm.
the big baddies are the big baddies, and those, so like that came in very early. And I mean, I think it was more than anything, it was driven by the theme, right? By
Mm-hmm.
the historical historical, not really,
Right.
by the by the theme, right? By the story. But we did realize that it was like, I mean, as you like, it's different from anything that we'd done before. And yeah, so it was really nice to play with that, because it does, as you say, sort of, you know, invert some expectations about what you do in this sort of game. um and yeah, like it was it's definitely an intention, and was definitely there from the beginning.
I noticed a couple days ago, or maybe it's even a week or more at this point, that Nick from Bitewing announced, "Hey, there's also a cooperative version of this now, and we're doing some play testing online. You can check that out." Was that something that you guys were toying with earlier on in development, and just in the pitch it didn't work, or was it
No,
reviewers who were kind of hammering like, there's some room for some cooperation in here, that started getting your minds turning on that?
well, I mean, it was very much the latter. Like, we had, it's ridiculous now thinking back that it hadn't even crossed our mind of doing and it's funny, right? Because like, both with David and with Brett, like I mean, I'm
Hmm.
like over half the games I've made are two-player games,
Yeah.
and invariably you put out a two-player game and instantly, like, is there a solo variant? Is there a
Uh-huh.
solo mode? And
Yeah.
and it's just like, solo games are going to solo game, like, it's just a thing, right? But and it was only when some comments started coming on, like, about, oh, this could actually work as a solo game, or what, and then we realized, of course it could. And like, unlike something like, Undaunted or Warchest, where,
Hmm.
like, we already had an AI built into it, and so it's just a few tweaks and it kind of works, and surprisingly well. So yeah, it was not intended, like, it was not something we baked in. It was just something that, and again, I don't know why we didn't foresee this, but anyway, it's what it is, and now it's there. And yeah, I mean, we're happy with it, and it's you can sort of scale it so it can be quite cozy if you want it to be. But yeah, you can definitely ramp it up. So, and it's funny how these things go.
One of the things about you, as well as Brett and David, your partners, is that you guys all have a history of this collaborative game design. That is your predominant way of bringing games into the world. Um, Tell me about like what's the different riffing, I guess, that happens between, say, you and David working on some projects versus you and Brett working on different projects, and why is it so important to you to work with specific people, with different people, or just having a partner in game design in general?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start with at the end first. So I mean, so I've been doing this now for, where are we? About 12 years. And when I first came into it, I was, just me, myself, and so I was noodling around. But I'd been noodling around for years and years and years and could never turn my ideas into anything. And it was only when I sort of met with other designers and started to see the process, but also started bouncing ideas off people, that I started to see, like, to actually gain traction on this.
Hmm.
And like, I have never published a game of my own. Like, it's like 40 games now, and all of them are co-designs. And I have no intention of changing that, because I just think, I mean, for so many reasons, it's like, at least for me, it's the way to go. Because not only do you have someone else who's invested in the thing that you're doing, but it's someone to bounce ideas off, someone to tell you when your ideas are stupid. And also the thing is, it's just so much more enjoyable. Like, David and Brett are two of my, like, best friends in the world, and so it's work, but it's also not work. And so,
Totally.
yeah, like, and I have had the chance to work with some other people as well, and I've had a couple, like, trio games published with me, David, and like Roger. And actually, Brett and David and I have a game coming out with Mighty Board. So the three of us, so it's all very incestuous. But it's, yeah, it's like, I mean, I know that there are plenty of designers out there who enjoy the sort of total control over
Hmm.
things, and like, they have their vision and they want to deliver their vision. But
The
yeah, like,
auteur.
exactly. But for me, like, it's only through collaborating with other people that ideas get generated. Like, I mean, obviously but like, ideas get turned into something, and go off in directions you wouldn't expect. And
Do
yeah,
you have any practical examples, either from these recent projects or even some of your older projects? Something where you were beating your head against a wall and being like, "There's something here, and I don't know what it is," and the other person was able to yes and it to
yeah,
the next stage.
yeah, for sure. So I mean, I think Moytura is a good example. So um the original seeds of the idea were mine in this case, which is with we can talk about it with David. That's pretty rare. He's normally the one who comes in with the idea, and I do the development. Whereas with Brett, it's normally the other way around.
Hmm.
But I came with this idea, but it was sort of half baked, and it was only through riffing with it on David, and then ultimately with, like, a clear project and context to put it in, coming from Nick and Bitewing, that we were able to turn it into something. And even then, like, I mean, obviously you had the collaboration with your co-designer, but also Nick is a fantastic, like, has such a sharp eye for game development.
Hmm.
And so when we pitched him Moytura, he liked it, and he's like, "Oh yes, this is very good." And he had a long list of things. He's like, "I think this could be better, this could be better, this could be better." And it was only through, that feedback, and then working on it again, and like that we were able to, like, some of the key parts of the system came from that discussion with him. So yeah, I mean, I occasionally I've had games where it was just like crystal vision, and it's like, this is the thing. But it's very, very rare. Most of the time it's smashing it up against another designer, and then obviously putting it on the table and putting it in front of people, other people. Like, that's the most important part. But I mean, I just, I couldn't, I wouldn't want to do it on my own. I think I could do it if I had to, but I wouldn't
If
want
you
to do
had
it
to, if
if
you
I
had
had
to.
to. Exactly,
Plus
exactly.
those, no talent hacks like David and Brett. What would they do without you?
Well, exactly. No, exactly.
Of the two projects, Azure is the one that, to me, I'm no game designer, But I would find it more intimidating to work on a project like that, mainly because it's playing more in the realm of these like old school abstract games,
Yeah,
right? It's in the realms of, oh, chess and Go are fine, but we can do better. So, how do you attempt a project like that? And how do you balance that kind of sense of you want to create something that is iconic and interesting and taps into those nerves, but at the same time is also gamey enough for the
yeah,
the hobby board game player?
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, I'll admit, so I mean, I'm a bit of an omni gamer, but like a big chunk of my sort of gaming history is playing chess and Go and like all, like I was a massive into those when I was younger.
Hmm.
And so they have sort of burned their way into my thinking about games and approach to games. And then from there into like the sort of you know, like those nasty old school Euros, like through the desert and these sorts, like
Yeah.
which you know what I mean? Which
Right.
like tap into those things. Like that's deep in my approach to gaming. And
Hmm.
so, but yeah, I get your point. Like the leaner a game is, the more you're kind of, it feels like you're kind of making a statement that like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And I mean, I kind of view games like Azure and another one I did with Brett, Great Plains, which is again like it's got cute little pictures of animals on the front, but it's just it's basically just a nasty abstract area control game. It's like they're kind of, I don't know, they're kind of like love letters to these games, right? Like
Hmm.
I mean, Go especially, like I absolutely adore Go. I mean, and this is the thing, like I love it because I came at it when I was relatively young
Hmm.
and I didn't know better. And so, and I was one of these rare people who was willing to just get battered by a game that I didn't understand for years because what else was I was going to do? I was 11, like, but, but they certainly, these, especially games like they aren't friendly, right? Like it's, the rules are simple, but the sort of strategy's opaque. They're totally unforgiving. And so I think to make a modern gamer happy, um, you have to polish those bits away, right? Like, it's sure, yes, like you will, if you play Azure most of the time against someone who's better than you, they're going to whoop you. But like, the game's 15, 20 minutes long. So it's like, okay, fine, I got whooped. But also like it just gives you a bit more direction at the beginning. It's like, I think that's a big thing. And the other thing is that, I mean, gamers love variability.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
having a board, having something that changes from game to game. So that, I mean, I think that's another big thing that, like I think chess or Go would be a hard sell in 2025.
Yeah, I think so. And part of that I think is the state of the hobby, state of the consumerist culture. I mean, even the sense of investment that you were talking about, the need for practice, the need for getting beat
Yeah,
over and
yeah,
over again, and that skill development. I mean, the landscape of games has changed in the 12 years, as you said, since you've been making games. Um, do you think about that sort of almost disposable nature, as a game designer? I know I certainly think about it as a
yeah,
reviewer. I want to play games over and over again, and I try
yeah,
to, and I with my family, with my friends, I
yeah,
try to play older games. Through the Desert hit the table recently, but it is always a struggle to balance getting those to the table versus the new hotness. And there is a sort of existential crisis that's at war with me that, am I perpetuating this one and done nature where we're incentivizing games that don't have a huge depth, because we're always trying to move on to the next thing, and you got to have people have a good experience the first time rather than demand that you really ruminate with the game, that you really develop skills with the game, that you approach it with different perspectives. um, I don't know. Maybe that's just part of getting older and having your own midlife crisis.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
but I mean, I definitely struggle with that too. Um, it's you know it's so tricky. Like that first play experience now, it's just for a game to succeed,
Right.
it feels like it has to nail that. And yeah, it can have depth, but um, you know, if you can't get it, if you can't get into it and feel it and see what it is in the first game, then it's such a hard sell. It's such a hard sell.
It's like you're selling singles now instead of selling
Yes,
albums.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
you need the first track, that first play that someone gets, to be a complete bop, a complete banger. That's an obvious banger,
Yeah,
or else no one's going to take the time to listen to the full album.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just going like, it also relates to this whole, I mean, people use the word replayability, but often what they're talking about is variability, right? Like they
Right.
just want they they want the promise that I can play this game 1,000 times and every experience will be unique because, mixy matchy content, or unlock this, unlock that, scenario 1, scenario 30, whatever, right? But I mean, yeah, the sad reality is that for so many people is that, like, it's an attractive feature to buy a game,
Hmm.
but then, most of the time they'll play it once or twice, or and not
Right.
even experience half of the sort of the variability that the game offers. And that's, of course, leaving aside the whole difference between more content and, like, depth, and just like what am I trying to say, like, depth of experience or whatever. Because
Right.
there's plenty of games where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna throw new little bits at you, but the game is pretty much the same, independent of that.
I may be thinking about this incorrectly, but looking at the bibliography, the gameography, um, of you and David and Brett, it seems like David, who's been on the show, and I've talked to him about historical gaming in the
Yeah,
past, he seems to be the one who is very committed to like historical veracity and historical settings, because a lot of his projects outside of working with you,
yeah,
either alone or with other collaborative designers, seem to often be really tied to this, like historical veracity, as I was saying.
yeah.
Um, how much of that is part of your guys' process, like making sure that when you're making a game that's set in a historical setting, that it is authentic, and how granular do you guys get it? And is there ever disagreement on, like, well,
uh,
there's fun and there's authentic, and sometimes those don't always overlap?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, like, absolutely, it's David who's the history nerd in the partnership, for sure. Like, for many of the games that he works on with me and with others, he'll spend like sometimes a 6-month research phase before any game has been developed, right? Just like
Right.
digging into the context, like what was happening, what what like learning as much as he can about what happened and what the important aspects of that were, and what the sort of slant that he wants to take on it, and starting to try to model that out and do his theory crafting. And that is very much David's bag, right? So,
Hmm.
like, and then when it gets to the stage of like turning it into a game, and even then, like, he often, because he's thinking of from the lens of a game, as like he's already starting to think of, like, different approaches for how it could go. So yeah, it's funny with David, I play more of a sort of developer role in saying, okay, these are great ideas. Let's like
Right.
smush it into things and just see how it goes. And to get to your last point, yeah, like, it's not that often, but there are some times when I'm like, I know that there were 5 people here, but like the game needs there to be 3 for it to work. Like, you know what? Or can we
Yeah.
just abstract out the fact that there were 5 and just have, say, some people? Or it's like, I know there wasn't real, there wasn't really a mountain there, but if that was elevated, the game would be so much more fun. Can we just and yeah, and depending on the nature of the project, he will push back. Well, he'll always push back, but we sort of smush our way through that into some balance between the two. and and sometimes like we'll be working on something, he's like googling, he's like, what's the effective range of this weapon, and he'll be like off googling, and then I'm like, so can it be 3 tiles? And he's like, yeah, I guess, fine,
I
three
guess.
tiles. Yeah, exactly. um yeah.
With Undaunted, I would be a fool to not talk to you about the Daunted series. Um, like so much ink has been spilled about just how great and accessible, but also deep that series is. It's truly incredible.
Oh, thanks.
But it's evolved so much and rapidly over the last couple of years. We had the initial Undaunted sets, and they kind of seemed to be one thing. And there was the Tangent, the cousin published by another publisher with Warchest, like, oh, same
Yeah.
system, but kind of. Um, and with this, we then got Battle of Britain. We got Stalingrad, which was one of the best campaign experiences I've ever had with board games. And then we had
Oh, thank you.
Callisto. How much of this is driven by like Osprey saying like, hey, we want to try new things with this setting, or with this system, or with this concept, and how much is it driven by you guys trying to see how different you can expand the concept of Undaunted but still keep it core to what makes those games tick?
I mean, like all these things, it's somewhere in the mushy middle. So we have quite a bit of freedom, a lot of freedom with
Mm-hmm.
Osprey, right? Like they just want, you know, another good next game. I mean, so certainly there are times where they led quite heavily. So, like you mentioned, Stalingrad. So it was definitely like we'd sort of toyed with it. It was very much them who were like, look, we want to take this down the legacy route, and it actually was going to be a legit legacy game with throwaway bits and stickers and stuff. But that was very much them. They're like, look, we need to go bigger and more expansive with this. Like, do it. And so we were happy to, but a lot of it is David and I thinking of like, how can we take what's there but make something different, because the
Mm-hmm.
other thing is we've been doing this for so bloody long now, like just to keep ourselves sane. Like we couldn't just copy paste the last game and do like put, oh, now it's in whatever. Like there has to be some substantive differences just to keep us interested. um but yeah, I mean, I think, and yeah, like let's just you mentioned Callisto, so like the move to a new setting, that
Mm-hmm.
was something that we had discussed with Osprey at various times. Just we thought it would be good to in order to potentially appeal to a different type of gamer, because there are plenty of people out there who just have no interest in sort of historical war games, and all the power to them. And so we thought, well, what how could we take something that could be attractive to them but also interesting. And so we came up with the idea of going to this sort of hard sci-fi with Callisto. But yeah, it's very much like we've been working with Osprey now for so long. We have a very close collaborative relationship with them. And so we meet regularly to talk about not only the current game that we're working on, but like the future of the series and what different ways we could go.
As a fellow creative, as I said, I'm not a game designer, but I noodle around with about every medium that I can uh, shoehorn some creative juices into.
Yeah.
Um, One of the hardest things is knowing when something is done. How do
Huh.
you know when a game is done?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Um, I mean, I often joke that the role of a game designer is to play a game until it's fun and then stop. But it's kind of true. Like, basically, when you play it and you're like, I see things I could change, but I
Hmm.
don't think those things would necessarily make it any better. They would just make it different, right? So, but But I mean, like everyone says, I mean, you're like you're never done. Like nothing is ever finished or done. It's like you could keep going. You could polish here, tweak there, see how it plays. Does this make it better? Or do you? But like, at some point, you just have to like pull the plug and say, look, in the case of something like an Undaunted, it's like we have a schedule, right? It's like, Osprey needs the game on this date, so that's when it's done, right? And so we bake that into the way we think about it. But with other games where it's like, you just, you like I say, you reach a point where it's like, this is doing everything that I want it to do, and I've experimented a bit, and I don't seem to be seeing like I don't see any obvious problems, and I don't see any obvious ways of making it better. So it's done, right? Um, and but I mean, there's different stages in the process. So like it might be this is done enough to pitch it to someone, and then the publisher, the company that you pitch it to, they might have their own ideas for what they want to do with it. And they might
Right.
want to tweak and tune it in certain ways depending on the audience that they're trying to reach and their own interests or whatever. So then it'll go through another phase of development, and then at some point, of course, they on much more so than we have schedules and like, well, we have to push this thing out because it has to be, it's the big Gen Con release, so it has to be done. So whatever it is on the first, when the clock strikes midnight, this is what the game is.
Well, looking at the release schedule, I'm looking, and it seems like you've released 6 new games just in the time that we've been recording this podcast. So you have no shortage of output and seemingly creative inspiration, but is there any either game or outside of games media, maybe books or movies or music, where you've like just been hit with something and it really inspired you want to incorporate that into some future gaming project?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, let me think.
It's one of those ones that, like if I were a professional, I would have emailed you in advance so you'd
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it,
yeah.
you know.
It's funny. It's funny. My wife's like, "Oh, did you get any questions beforehand?" And I'm like, "No, it's all good. It's all good." No, so um let me think. Well, one I want to fanboy on a game that I played recently. I absolutely love, and like, so there, I I mean, I mentioned this before. I'm a bit of a sort of a classicist, right? Like I just love games that are super simple. And there's this game Trio. Have you played it?
Oh yes, amazing. Nana
Yeah,
Trio, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Like, oh man, like that game is, yeah. It's funny because every once in a while, like, yeah, I do play lots of games, but I don't play nearly as many games as your average hobby gamer, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's really like every couple years there's a game that I'm like, oh my God, this game is stellar. Like, like The
Hmm.
Mind was one of them. Like The Mind just blew my
Right.
mind. But like Trio, and definitely in the last couple of years is the game that like I absolutely love. Like, and it's one of these like I bought 4 copies now because I keep like just giving it to people. I'm like,
Yeah,
like because I'll invite someone over to play it and they'll be like, that's so good. I'm like, just take it,
I
share the love.
I was in Germany with my brother, and he lives in Germany, and he's not a big gamer, but him and his girlfriend, they were playing, like Skip Bow and some other things.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me show you a game. And
Yes.
so I used the existing cards that they had and showed them, what just like a standard deck of cards. I took out
Yeah.
one suit and then it just had an ace through queen or whatever.
Yeah.
And showed them how to play, and they were hooked. And we played like 10 times. So I went and bought them a German copy of Trio for that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I mean, like the whole cards with numbers on it thing is like, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite. I don't know if you can call it a genre of game, but
Sure.
like just like what can people do with numbers or with colors? And if you
Yeah.
have to, you can mix the numbers and colors, fine. But like, yeah, just one dimension, like make a game with this one dimension of things and make it fun. And like, yeah, Trio is a great one. And like like I mentioned, the mind, and the mind is probably like, it's not my favorite game and that I play it all the time, but it's a game that like I love what it does. But Trio, you can play with anyone because everyone like and everyone will get it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like something like the mind, you really like, there's some people bounce off it pretty hard, like normal people, like they're just like, I don't understand. Like, we're playing together. Like, whose turn? Like, what are we trying? Like, normal people don't get it. But a game like Trio, it's like, you played Go Fish, right? And like, yeah, it's like that, but much better. So in terms, I can't incorporate Trio exactly, but it certainly has, like, Brett and I have been on a bit of card game kick design wise for the past year or so, and definitely that has been one of the games that's just blown my mind. It's like, okay, I'm probably not going to make something this
That
good.
was kind of my experience with playing Regicide, like to see a
Yeah.
game that is born out of, just like a BGG game jam, like,
Yeah,
hey, design a game with a standard deck of cards, and for it to be, like this very interesting and nuanced cooperative card game with flavor, and, like it
yeah,
brings so much to the table with just that standard deck of cards. I was like,
yeah.
which, as I said, I got Regicide Legacy over there. In fact, I was recording the review, so I have 2 copies of
Ooh,
Regicide
cool.
hanging out over here.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I won't. I don't want to preempt your interview, but I'm sorry, your review. But I'm very curious to hear what you think about it, because I haven't bought a copy yet. But yeah, I'm
it's
definitely very keen.
so good in the way
Okay,
that I
good.
was saying that Undaunted Stalingrad was one of the best campaigns that I've played. This is, I was worried because that kind of like fetishistic adherence to minimalism is something that I
Yeah,
get a lot out of.
yeah,
Like I was worried that my beautiful Regicide game that's so small and so compact would be able to survive maintaining that spirit into a campaign game, but the boys put it together. Like it definitely is more than Regicide, but it's taking that spirit, that minimalism, and those very simple levers to play with, the numbers and suits on cards, and
yeah.
how do we take this to logical extremes, and
Right.
it's very good. It's very good.
Ah, cool, cool. Well, I mean, yeah, I definitely have to get a copy.
So, aside from dreaming and scheming with games like Trio in the Mind, what's on the horizon for you after Moytura and Azure?
Probably the next big thing is, I mentioned that Brett and David and I have co-designed a game together. It's very odd, and it's a game which sort of arose during those pandemic times. That,
Is there one of those weird things where it's like, you have your, school friend, and then you
yeah,
have like your childhood friend, and they're getting together, and you're
yeah.
like, well, normally I fulfill this role with this person and this role with this person, and now I'm having to navigate this whole new thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the good thing is that they've known each other as long as I've known either of them, right? Like, because we sort
Hmm.
of like, so Dave and I came into this playtest group that Brett was leading at the same time, so they've known each other, but definitely in terms of roles, like, because like so with David, I'm more of the developer, and with
Hmm.
Brett, he's more of the developer, and so in some ways, I'm like, I don't even need to be here, guys. Like, yeah, y'all
Just
can
slap
just
my
do this.
name on the box and we're good.
Exactly. Exactly. But because I work with each of them, so it's kind of like, the mediator or whatever. So yeah, it was interesting. It was good. But yeah, so that's a game called For the Gods, coming out with Mighty Boards, and I'm not sure when the Kickstarter is going to be. I think it's going to be early next year, so February March time. And yeah, they have done such an amazing job with the production. So it's got like I mean, the shtick is it's a sort of a big building area majority game. So you've got a little boat and you're going around the islands of the Aegean and building towers to the gods. But they have gone full bling with the towers are these wonderful little pillar column bits, and those are in your bag, and you're pulling those out. And then, you know, when you go to some of the areas and build a tower there, you get to like get a god's tile, which
Mm-hmm.
then goes into your bag. But when you place it, there's another bit that you put on top to like a little capstone on the top. Yeah, they've done, yeah, the production is ridiculous. So excited for this. Like it's, yeah, it's like um got a bit of crunch to it, but it's also super accessible. And so like, you know,
Meanwhile,
like
David is like, I did my research, and
yeah,
historically, these boats wouldn't be able to move
yeah,
as fast and carry all of the necessary materials to build up these structures. So we're going to have to scrap the whole
exactly,
thing.
exactly. And like Brett and I are so fast and loose with our themes. We're like, oh, this mechanic would make it really good, but it doesn't really fit with that theme. Throw the theme out, grab an entirely to one. And David's like, what are you doing? Like this happened. Like the game, which is now for the gods, was originally like, you know, like it wasn't towers, it was meeples, and it was in Viking time, and we're just like, oh yeah, but this would be so much cooler if it had 3D bits. And Jay was like, what are you doing? You can't do this. It's like, nah. So you're outvoted, my friend. Sorry.
That's awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I'm a huge fan of your work, and
Oh, thanks, Jack.
I can't wait to see what's on the horizon with not just this, but clearly many more games. And hopefully, you know, down the road we can find an opportunity, get all three of you guys on
Oh
to
yeah.
talk about this game on release. So, thanks for coming on to the show, Trevor, and congrats on all the success.
Oh, thanks, Jack. It's been a pleasure.